Welcome to Beyond the Paradigm with me, Paul. This is my podcast, Beyond the Paradigm, and this episode today, I've rehashed it for YouTube. So the actual episode is on Spotify, Apple, wherever you can get your podcast from, but I've decided to rehash this with some slides for YouTube to add some more visuals, and I'm going to split the actual episode down into 3 for YouTube. So today I'm going to be talking about Stonehenge, and this is Stonehenge, an enduring mystery. Stonehenge is one of the most wondrous and recognisable ancient megalithic sites around the world. The world famous site is shrouded in mystery and is visited by 1 million people a year. Stonehenge has perplexed many ancient historians and archaeologists for hundreds of years, and many are the theories as to how it was built, for what purpose it was built, and who actually built it. And it is estimated that Stonehenge was built approximately 2800 BC. And in this episode, I am going to examine explanations regarding how these giant stones got to Wiltshire in southern England. So that's my focus today. In the full episode on Spotify, Apple, etc., I go into who built the site. I also look at possible reasons for Stonehenge being built, but they're going to come in separate videos here on YouTube. Now, in the UK, our history that was taught at school was basically that the island of Britain was inhabited by savages. Then around 55 BC, the Romans came to Britain. They fought a few battles against different Celtic tribes. Then they returned with a much larger army in 54 BC. Then around AD 43, Emperor Claudius ordered 4 legions to conquer Britain. Then approximately AD 410, Roman Britain came to an end due to continued incursions by Saxons, Picts, Scots and the Jutes. Then from there the island ended up being broke up into 3 nations, England, Scotland and Wales. Now obviously that is a simplified history of Britain, and it completely ignores the fact that Stonehenge, for example, could not have been built by savages. So how did the stones get there? Well, the first thing to know is there are 2 types of stones. On the inner circle, there are the blue stones, and these weigh approximately 4 tons each. And they came from a quarry in South Wales called Preseli Hills. Preseli Hills is approximately 170 miles on foot from Stonehenge. Now, between that area in Wales and Stonehenge, there has been various routes postulated, but there's an actual river that has a bridge there now, which is the Severn Bridge, which is 2.25 miles long. Now obviously that river wouldn't have been there. So that's regarding the blue stones. The possible route via avoiding the River Severn would be close to 200 miles. And another hypothesised route is possibly around the coast of Wales. We're going to take a look at them possible routes shortly. But like I said, there are 2 types of stones. These are the blue stones. These are the smaller ones on the inner circle. And there's also the sarsen stones. These are the sarsen stones. And they average approximately 25 tons apiece. Although the heaviest of the actual sarsens is 40 tons. I mean, you can see here that this particular stone here is clearly going to be heavier than this due to it being much wider. Now, these were said to have been brought from an area called Marlborough Downs, which is approximately 20 miles from Stonehenge. So let's have a quick look at the routes that were postulated as to how the blue stones got to Stonehenge. So as you can see, I said earlier, Preseli Hills, there's a quarry there, and these are the possible routes that have been theorised to take them all the way to the Stonehenge. Now, like I said before, this area here is a river, the River Severn, and there's a bridge there now, which is obviously a massive bridge, and it's 2.25 miles long. So should this have been a route, they would have had to have floated them across here. Same here with the coastal route going on water, and then the longer route here, approximately 200 miles. There's a sort of AA guide. That's if you went on the road and you went over the bridge, that's 178 miles. So we need to take into account the size of the stones. Like I mentioned, blue stones approximately 4 tons a piece. Now, there's been various methods talked about by the mainstream of how these stones actually got there. So one example is that they've said that they rolled them on logs. It's a common theory. So they put the stones like this on these log rollers, and they dragged them over prepared tracks. This method obviously requires a significant amount of manpower and coordination. They also postulate greased slides, so possibly something like this in the bottom here, and this would have allowed the stones to slide more easily over the ground. Also, water transportation, like so. Blue stones from Wales could have been floated on these rafts and then dragged over land for the final portion of the journey. You can see maybe an example in these two pictures here of how they may have been dragged along. Now, just to note, these are the mainstream suggestions, the mainstream theories. They don't take into account anything else other than what you can see. They don't consider an unseen world. They've also postulated glacial transport for these blue stones. Some of the smaller blue stones may have naturally been transported closer to Stonehenge during an ice age, but there's no actual evidence of this. It's just a theory. And then in winter transport, some theories propose the stones were transported in the winter months when the ground was wetter and more slippery, making it easier to move the heavy stones over the ground. And obviously this would have taken a lot of manpower. There's also another method that they call ramping, and it's another possibility that they constructed earthen ramps to move them over the inclines, allowing them to be dragged or rolled into place. You can see something like that here. But it's important to note that these are not mutually exclusive, and the combination of the methods possibly could have been used together. But we need to take into account the size of the stones, the distance, the terrain, and available technology, or what the mainstream consider was the available technology. In 2000, a group called Mentor Preseli attempted to take a 3-ton blue stone using this method here, similar, and this method where they were dragging it but on rollers. And they attempted to do it, and it took them 1 day to move one stone 1 mile. When they eventually got it to the coast, they were hoping to transport it like this on these rafts. Well, the stone actually just fell off. It basically sunk because when they put it on, it was too heavy. It rocked to the side, and that was it. It sunk, thus proving that this method was very unlikely to be the one that they used to take them there. Now, they're the mainstream theories, but what about some alternative theories regarding how these stones were transported? Well, levitation and anti-gravity are some of the alternative theories. and that advanced ancient technologies such as levitation and anti-gravity were used to move these massive stones. And a new study has suggested that they may have used sound to levitate the massive stones into place. The research published in a journal of the archaeological science used computer simulations to show how Stonehenge rocks could have been moved using a method known as acoustic levitation. Acoustic levitation is a phenomenon in which the sound waves can be used to create a force that lifts and moves objects. It has been used in scientific research for decades, but this is the first time it's been suggested as a possible method for moving Stonehenge massive stones. The study's authors say that the method would have been within the capability of the ancient Britons and that it could explain how they were able to move the stones from a faraway quarry sites and transport them to the monument's location. So let's have a look at this acoustic levitation. So there's also other ideas been postulated as to how the stones may have been moved there, and telekinesis and psychic powers have also been suggested, but there's also extraterrestrial involvement. Some individuals have suggested this less common theory that extraterrestrial beings may have assisted in the construction of Stonehenge using advanced technology beyond human capabilities. And not only this, time travel or ancient aliens. Similar to the extraterrestrial theory, this speculative idea proposes that time travelers or ancient astronauts from the future or other worlds played a role in building Stonehenge. And they've also suggested mystical and ritualistic methods. Some theories suggest that the stones were moved through mystical or ritualistic methods, potentially involving ceremonial chants, rituals or spiritual practices. It is Merlin, they have said, a story regarding how he was the only one who could bring these stones because they were originally at Mount Calaris in Ireland, so the story goes, and he brought them over and used some kind of magic to get them onto the boats. But that's obviously folklore. We don't know if there's any truth in that at all. So that's the first part of this episode on Stonehenge. There's going to be a further 2 parts that I am going to put here on YouTube. Like I said, you can hear me at all these different places that you can see on your screen, and many more sites as well. The full episodes are on there regarding Stonehenge, but other episodes as well. There's episodes on UFOs, the Finders and Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA. There's one on ancient giants. So if you go on there, you'll find a number of different episodes. So I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. You can follow me on there, Instagram 1979, or Twitter. Instagram is Paradigm1979 and Twitter is Paradigm_79. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you tune in for the second part of this episode.